Welcome back. Just a quick commentary on Tim Keller's Put Out in Deep Water sermon, where he discusses what it's like to come into contact with God. And I think that what he's stating here is going to come as a surprise, even to many of us that have been in the faith for many years. Evaluating what it's like to experiencing God is going to be very different than what you would commonly assume. Tim talks about going into this mindset of a Hallmark card where everything is peaceful and tranquil, and that the world kind of has this perception that as we engage with God and interact with Him, that's going to be the reality that we're going to experience. But when you look at the examples in Scripture, that is not what you find. Tim traces examples in the life of Jacob, Job, Isaiah, and then Peter is really the central passage that he's looking at, both in Luke chapter 5 and John 21, where we see this concept that was first kind of captured by a man named Rudolf Otto of numinous awe. And what it is this experience of getting close to God means that you're going to have a magnetism to Him due to the pleasure that's derived from being near Him, but also this intense conflict and desire that you want to get away from Him because it's stirring up the sin that's within you, and because of His holiness, we're resistant to it. So you have this dual effect of wanting to get closer, but also being repelled away from Him. And so that any time that we're getting closer to God, if we don't feel this element of resistance, then we need to question whether that reality is the God that is the God of the Bible, the one that we need to be worshiping, or if it's some God of our own making. If it's all pleasure and no conflict, then there's a good chance that it is not the true God. One of the things we see in Peter in both of these passages is, when Jesus tells us to do something, the response of Peter is just to obey. So God is not our advisor. He's not someone who we need to evaluate what He says as whether or not it's going to practically apply to our lives. But when He commands us to do something, we just need to be obedient to it, regardless of how we feel about it or what our response is to that command. And we have to trust in His holiness and His goodness. We don't get to evaluate it from our standpoint to see if it measures up to whatever our own practical standard is, but it's for us to be obedient to. And only through that obedience can we draw closer in relationship to Him. And that is a complete reflection of the aspect of the nature of His holiness. We can't ever forget that the God we worship is a holy God. So those are just a few quick notes on Tim Keller's sermon in 1995, Put Out into Deep Water. I highly suggest that you listen to it because it's going to transform the way that you understand God and what your expectations should be as you relate to Him and as you experience Him. If this is a helpful devotional for you, if it's something that you value and you would like to listen to again in the future, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, like, and comment. We can continue the conversation through the channel. Thank you so much, and God bless.